Okay.
Hello everyone and welcome to Jefferson Street Sound Museum. I'm Karen Coffey, Vice President. And we just extend a warm welcome to everyone this evening. We're so excited to have with us two very special people. The owners of Pop Attorneys and Miss Zeke's Juke Joint. To my left is Mike and Irene Turney. And then this other gentleman to my right, he really doesn't need an introduction. It's Mr. Lorenzo Washington, who was the founder of Jefferson Street Sound Museum. So we're going to have a nice fireside chat. We're going to be able to ask questions that a lot of folks haven't been able to ask before. So he gives us an opportunity to be nosy. So we can find out a little bit more about Mike and Irene, things that we don't get to see on a regular basis. So Mr. Washington, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right.
All right.
Just a little bit now.
Just a little bit. Yes, Pop Attorney and Ms. Zeke, well, I'm glad to have you here in the interview today. As we call it, a chat. So we're just going to talk a little bit about what you guys have done and the impact that you guys have made in the restaurant business, the pie business, and the entertainment business. And you've made an impact in all of those. I know I've witnessed it, so I can tell you that you have. A lot of us know you as the Pie Man.
It's another life.
And it's another life, and Mama Turney's Pies. So how did you come from Pie Man to Papa Turney's Barbecue?
So and first of all, we're honored to be here. And thank you and Karen so much for the opportunity. We're on a little juke joint out in Hermitage. The pie company was started almost 40 years ago. And actually the first place that we ever sold a pie at was in a barbecue restaurant. The first place was in Real Deal Barbecue. Lillard Davis was the owner.
I know it.
And
Yeah.
and then went into business with a guy. I had a whole 70% ownership in a barbecue restaurant called Smoking Charlie's. Used to be on White Creek Pike. And we started selling a few pies in there. And we were in there one Saturday, and me and Charlie kind of fell out. The lady that was the other business partner, she was a little demeaning. You know how some people get sometimes when they have more ownership in a certain situation or a certain thing than you do. And she told me to clean the bathroom. I don't think I've ever even told my wife this story.
Oh, wow.
And she handed me a thing that almost looked like a toothbrush and wanted me to clean the grout in the floor of that bathroom. And they had been arguing, so I went in there and you know what I did? I cleaned it.
No.
And when I came back out, I said, you know what? I said, I feel like I'm working for two people that don't trust one another. And I'm in business with two people that don't trust one another. And I said, I had quit a job cutting meat. I'd been a meat cutter for 20-something years. Good job, cutting meat, making good money. I quit that job and had went into this thing with them and grandiose ideas. I'm a barbecue man now. I own 7% interest in this company. And I told him, I said, I don't want to do this anymore. I said, because what I had brought to the table was my expertise and knowledge of meat that I've been doing for 20-something years. Mm-hmm. What to buy, how to buy it, when to buy it, how to cut it, how to cook it. So I said, you all don't value me. I said, you don't. And I said, and you don't trust one another. So that tells me that ultimately you don't trust me.
Yeah, yeah.
And what he said to me, he said, you know, you can't make no money selling pies. And I think at that point, God birthed the essence of that pie business in my heart then. Because my wife can tell you, all you gotta do is tell me I can't do something. You know, and we're gonna try to make that happen. So I walked out of there and went home, and I was married. That was another life then. And I went and told my family. I said, well, I failed you. I said, I don't know whether we can make any money selling these pies. And but I got up the next day and I sucked my pride up and I went back to cutting meat. You know, and it was embarrassing to me. Because I told everybody, man, I'm business owner now. You know, I picked my knife up and went back to cutting meat. We bake pies, and I deliver pies all night. I'd go to work at 4 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, get my 8 hours in cutting meat, and I come out of there and I deliver pies all night. And that's how the pie business started. Every convenience store, every grocery store, even before I even had insurance or a license to even do the pies, you know. So I could go on and on about that. You better ask another question.
Now, what is a typical day at Papa Turdy's? First, the name Miss Z. How did that come about?
Well, that was me. Because, you know, one day we were trying to put a name on the music venue inside of Papa Turney's Barbecue. And they were throwing around all these names. And I said, it should be called Miss Zeke's Juke Joint. And here they go, nah, don't nobody put that name. So I said, okay, then I forgot all about it. I didn't think no more about it. And then time went on, and then I came into the restaurant one day, and I saw up on top, they had put the words, Miss Zeke's Juke Joint. And I just burst into tears because I couldn't believe it that he would name the venue after me. That just touched my heart so. And he knows I love music, and anybody know me know I love music, all kinds of music. So that's how the name came about.
And her nickname.
My nickname is Zeke.
Oh, wow.
And we started the barbecue business out of the need. I have a day planner at home that 20-something years ago, I wrote in that day planner that I wanted to one day own a restaurant that sold great food. I didn't even necessarily say barbecue at that point. And great desserts and had music. You know, and my sister reminded me of that. It's been 3 or 4 years ago. I went back and found that day planner. That was wrote in that day planner in the late 80s or something like that. And I didn't know that God had planned for us to do the barbecue thing. And but that's when we started the barbecue business, just out of a food truck on the side of the road.
Yeah.
And cooked in our backyard for about a year. Our neighbors hated us.
Homeowners Association.
They didn't like that.
They didn't like that.
You know, they driving by the house because it's all smoked up. They driving by the house holding their nose when they drive by the house. You know, and
Remember they called everybody on us the dog catcher. They had everybody in our house
Health department.
trying to get us thrown out.
you know, they coming on Friday evening before they close. Boom, 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 boom. I'm like, baby, don't open that door. And what we did, God gave us a chance to see, will this barbecue thing work? We had a food truck. So it was wrong. I'm not recommending nobody do this, but we would open on Friday evening after the health department closed, and we would close up on Sunday evening before they opened back up Monday morning. You know, and it gave us a chance to see if it would work.
Yeah.
You know, we're on the side of the road up in Hermitage in that food truck. Some days we will open up and there'd be people lined up 14, 15 deep in front of that food truck. And we sell out every day. And my wife was like, baby, we keep selling out. Baby, I ain't got enough money to buy much, you know. But what that did, people were coming back and they were like, well, we need to hurry up and get there before we run out of brisket. But that started a thing in the neighborhood of people saying, look, we need to get to Papa Turner's early today, you know, and that's what happened. And that's when we, you know, that's how that thing kind of bloomed the way it did.
Now that's the way it was then. Now what is a typical day like now with Papa Turner?
You want to answer that one?
You bet.
We cook. We open Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And we normally cook on Tuesday. And because it takes 16, 18 hours or more to do barbecue the way we do it.
Yeah.
You know, it's a really, really slow process. So typical day, we'll come in, we'll put product on, brisket, whole brisket butts, ribs, smoked chicken and so on. And we'll smoke it 6 hours or so, 7 hours. We'll take it off and we'll finish it overnight. So that meat that goes on Tuesday, it doesn't finish until Wednesday morning about 9 o'clock. And at that point, we set everything up in the restaurant, get everything going, get all the employees in place. I'm running to get supplies. And the music starts every day about 6:30. You know, and we have music just about every day.
Well, that was my next question is how often do you have live music? So you stepped on that question a little bit.
I'm sorry. Every day. You know, we're open Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And we have what we try to do is create a venue where the young kid could come and share the stage, like our grandson, 14, gonna be a world-class drummer one day because he's been around this all his life, and make these kids feel comfortable, not look down on them because they don't know what some of these old seasoned musicians might know,
Right.
and
right.
give them a place to play that nurture their spirit and their souls and their gift, you know, and that's what we have tried to do with the music there.
Because, you know, most jams are in bars. So,
Right.
you know, the children can't go in. So,
Oh, yeah, that's true.
so that gave them a place to be.
That's true. Yes, yes. Now, it's somewhat of a personal question for you, Papa Turney, is when did you start playing the guitar?
Oh, wow. Probably when I was about 14. You know, I never remember not wanting to play the guitar.
Yeah.
We lived in South Nashville on Ridley Boulevard, and my father worked at the Union Station. He was a porter at the Union Station, and what they call an Iceman. You know, my father was born in 1903.
Well, that was a good job back
Yeah,
then.
it was.
For a black man to have a job
Yeah.
like that was almost unheard of.
Yeah, yeah.
And to keep a job like that was almost unheard of. Because once he got in, whether it was grandfathered in from a friend or family, you know, and I think my father probably got that job because he cut grass for some upper end families in Belmead and Brentwood, the Barrys.
Yeah.
And I think they're the ones that got my father that job. And repeat the question again. When I started playing the guitar. And Daddy couldn't afford to buy me a guitar. And one day he found a guitar in the trash at the station. A big old acoustic guitar in the trash. And the neck was broke off of it. My daddy, they call him Red. He could fix anything. Went to the 3rd grade in school and was brilliant. Daddy brought that guitar home and he bolted the neck to it. He took a screw and put it through the back heel of that neck of that guitar, went on the inside of it, tightened it up, and then got Bobby Hebb. Y'all know who Bobby Hebb was?
Yeah, Sonny.
Bobby Hebb lived up the street from us. Bobby Hebb put strings on that guitar for my dad. And the strings were about that far from the neck of that guitar. It was, and nowadays, it was horrible. But I played it till on some days my hands would almost bleed. But I'm a really unorthodox guitar player. I don't tune standard tuning. You know, I tune in an open E tuning. So I just strummed it so it would sound pleasing to my ear.
Yeah.
Which was not the right way to tune the guitar. And I taught myself how to play like that at the age of about, I guess 13, 14 years old.
Well, now Jimi Hendrix had a strange way of tuning his guitar too, didn't he?
He was left-handed.
Yeah.
He played a right-handed guitar flipped upside down.
Yeah.
He did.
I used to watch, I've watched Jimi Hendrix walk up and down the street with his guitar on his shoulder because he didn't have a case.
That's something, man.
Yeah. Now, you were here on Jefferson quite a bit. Now, did you play in any of the clubs on Jefferson Street?
Yeah, at a really early age. The Elks Lodge was right down the street.
Yeah.
Used to be a club called the Black Diamond.
Yeah, next door.
Cafe Unique.
That was up here.
That was on Batavia. Ilis Muhammad's.
Oh,
Muhammad's Club.
Yeah. I
You know,
remember.
and I remember playing in the Elks Lodge, and I was so young that I couldn't come off the stage. If I came off the stage, I had to leave the club.
Yeah.
Because they served alcohol and stuff. And the union, they were real sticklers for that.
Mm-hmm.
But they should have done that because we was out behind the club drinking wine. They should have let me stay in the club. It'd been better, you know.
Now you've got a young grandson here, B.
Don't be drinking no wine, boy.
Now, did you start him playing the guitar? How did he get, the drums, how did he get to this point?
You know, Brandon has always, I'm gonna let my wife answer that. You answer that about that boy. Yeah.
Well, let's see. How did he start?
Piece of skin on you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thanks, Lord. Well, let's see. How did he start? That was back when we had the little 16-seater place, and Mike decided he wanted to have music in there, so he put a drum set in there. And as different musicians would come in, you know, he got acquainted with them, and one was the drummer. And at that he was like 13 months old then, and they would put him on their laps with the sticks, and he would put his hands, you know, with the sticks, and then they would play the drums and let him learn those motions, that. Wow. And that's basically how it started. A friend of ours called Chip. What's Chip's last name? Can't think of his last name. Pierce. Chip Pierce is the one that started him on this journey.
Yes, he did.
And he's still our dear friend to this day. He still comes into the restaurant, still comes to the jams and everything. And in the wintertime, he goes to Florida for the winter, but he still follows Brandon. Everything he does, he follows him. And he's just gotten accepted into the Nashville School of Art, so he'll be going there in the fall.
Oh,
So hopefully do his whole 4 years.
He learned how to play the top part of the drum. Cause when he first, Brandon played a little small drum set for just a few months. Then he went to the big drum set, but his feet wouldn't reach none of the pedals, the bass drum or the hi-hat or anything.
Yeah.
So he learned the top part of the drum, the snare, the cymbals, and all that first, because his feet wouldn't reach the pedal. He would balance himself on that drum set. So when he finally got to where his feet would reach the pedals, it took him a while to get this implemented with what he'd already learned on this.
yeah, yeah.
You know, and I think if you're watching play, you will see that, because he's got this down, but what he does up here really complements what he's doing down here with the speed off.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wow. Now, does he play with any bands now?
He's playing with us this evening about 6:30.
Oh, really?
And he has his own band. His band is called the Music City Youth All Stars. You know, they played the BB Kings in Memphis in January, and they've got another show coming up in a few months, a few weeks at the restaurant.
Yeah, and they represented Nashville.
Yeah, and they represented Nashville as a youth delegate band from Nashville in the International Blues Challenge in Memphis in January.
Well, I was there
Yes.
in Memphis. Now we're getting down pretty close to the end, but Papa Attorney, what do you think about this music scene now, today,
Man.
and the kids and what they're doing?
You know what? It's a deep thing now. We see kids coming to the restaurant that are enthralled with the blues. You know, we had a thing that we partnered somewhat with Ocean Way Studios and Belmont College. And what Belmont has done, they're teaching a class on the blues. Mr. Jamie Warden, great guy, professor out there, runs the studio, Ocean Way Studios, one of the biggest and best studios in the country. And they've got this last semester they had 24 kids, black and white, male and female, that started and signed up for this class. You know, and so Belmont is nurturing these kids and teaching them about this thing. We had Bobby Rush is a friend of mine. I called Bobby. He was in town about 3 weeks ago, and Bobby went out to Belmont, left a rehearsal with 30 people, Kenny Wayne Shepherd and 30 people. I picked him up, he left that rehearsal and left them there waiting on him to come back to go speak to these kids and play some harmonica and sing for them at Belmont.
I was
You know?
there.
Yes,
Yeah.
he did.
Yeah.
And so the state of the music, what I wish would happen was more of the elders in this musical community do more to embrace these children, black, white, otherwise. Because we've got some of them that feel like, you know, they stole our music. It happened. Some people didn't get credit for what they did, what they wrote, what they played, what they sang. You know? So to feel so bitter about that you don't want to empower these children and these players that don't look like us to keep nurturing and playing these music, to me is a sin on a lot of levels. That ain't what God wants. You know, we're supposed to empower everybody to do these things. You know, I can't pat my foot and play the guitar at the same time. I got all the rhythm of this microphone stand. You understand? But when I put that thing around my shoulder and set it in my lap, my rhythm's in my hand, my heart, and my head. And if God could gift this old boy to play music, sing a little bit, to not try to empower these children to nurture their gift, you know,
Yeah.
it's not good, you know. And you know, our clientele at the restaurant a lot of days, man, some nights ain't nobody look like me and him in there but me and him, you know. And that's okay, because these guys are they're supporting us, they're loving what we're doing, they're not coming in there for any undermining of the restaurant or the music. They just want to be accepted into playing this music, you know, and play this music they do.
Yeah. Well, I have another question. When we were in Memphis at the blues conference, and when I went in to accept the award that I was being given, keeping the blues alive, and I look out over the audience, and that was about 5% black in that
Right.
audience. And the blues, I always looked at the blues as being our music.
And it is, and still is, and always will be.
But when I look out now, could it be that we don't have the venues for these young musicians and artists to come? Because just like here on Jefferson Street, it used to be venues all up and down Jefferson Street, and here we are now, don't even have one venue. Now, is one of the reasons because we don't have venues for these young folk to play at, to participate as far as the blues music is concerned? I'm concerned about the blues because the blues is leaving us as we know it,
It is.
as I know it. And I'm here with the museum teaching the community about the blues, and the music has changed. So, you know, it's not even our music anymore.
I think you're right on target, Lorenzo. You know, the Exit 207 thing that they did on you and what you've done for this area, it speaks volumes to what you just said. You know, we've got people that have started coming to our restaurant because they can't go downtown to hear no blues.
Right.
Right.
You know, a guy called me the other day, and I'm not gonna name the club, that he was downtown in this club that's supposed to be a blues club. And he called me, he said, Mike Turney, he said, I came all the way from Indiana to hear some blues. And I'm sitting in a blues club, supposedly, listening to a bad country band. He said, what time y'all open tomorrow?
Well,
He stayed an extra day to come hear some blues at Miss Zeke's Juke Joint. You know, so to answer your question, there's places that they could be playing, they could be going and playing and listening to music, but they're not accepting of that genre of music anymore. And I think it's a money thing more than anything. You know, I think it is. You know, I think it's a money thing.
right.
Yeah. You know, we try to nurture these children and let them know that they can love this thing, you know, the way that we do. But what we have to do is make it interesting for them. You know, make this blues thing interesting for them. If they want to write a blues song and put a little snippet of rap in it, or twist this song up and add a little jazz to it, then let's embrace that. Let them do this thing, a saying that I penned a few years ago with another young artist, brand new blues. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Everything changes,
Right, right.
but it also kind of stays the same. It does, so.
Well, this has been a very good interview, and I'm not great at interviewing them.
Yes, you are.
Great.
Give Lorenzo a big hand.
Great.
Karen?
I have one question. How did you find the location at Nashville Shores?
It found us.
How was that? Tell me.
She knows.
You tell them.
We started in a food truck, and we went from the food truck. I did not want a building, a brick and mortar building. What my thought was for the barbecue restaurants, I wanted to have 10 food trucks around Nashville. Those food trucks were, at that time, that one was doing about $3,000 or $4,000 a week, on good weeks if it didn't rain. And I did the math. If I had 10 trucks doing $3,000 a week and working 3 days a week, I could go fishing and get my pockets fat. Saturday night we started doing music in the little. There was a barber shop behind us that you could get anything in that barber shop but a haircut. You couldn't get no haircut in there. You could get every damn thing else in there. But it came open, and a guy told me, he said, man, that barber shop's open, man, and I think the rent is cheap. Because they can't, nobody go in there. Because the barber shop next door to a bar called Shooters. And when I say a bar, it's a bar. So we talked to the landlord, and we came up with a deal, and called a friend of mine that came in and knocked some walls out. It had room for 4 tables, 16 seats, and an open kitchen. We closed the food truck down, sold it, and we moved into the little 4-seat place, 4-table place. Saturday night we put a full drum kit in there, and we had this wall of amplifiers down the back wall, and we started the jam in there. The jam that we're doing now, it started in that restaurant/barber shop. It got so loud that, I knew we had arrived when the people came over from Shooters and asked if could we turn it down. And I'm like, Shooter said, we too loud, man. We rolling now, baby. So that's where the music started.
Okay. How do we get to Nashville Shores?
Nashville Shores, that one Saturday night, a man named Mr. Larry Edgman, which is the general manager of Nashville Shores. We didn't know who he was, but he had just arrived in town from Oklahoma, and he came in the restaurant. He's playing with Brandon hitting him with drumsticks, and he's pushing Brandon around the table, and my wife is joking with him and laughing with him, and found out he was a saxophone player, and he stayed in there for 4 hours that night and enjoyed that music. Ate food, and he said, I'll be back to see you again. The next day, the guys that run the marina came up, and they said, you know what, man, we got a building down there that's been empty for almost 10 years. He said, we're cooking hot dogs in it, and selling hot dogs, and, and pizza. He said, man, you ought to go put a proposal in on that building. I said, man, look, I've been down there fishing before. We can't afford that. It's waterfront. You sitting on the deck and you looking at the sailboats and all that. I'm like, this man, I don't think I called my sister, Betty Turner. She's a human HR person for NES, and she's the eloquent one. I said, I need you to write me a proposal. Betty wrote the proposal, and I put my little suit on and my nice little hat, went around and knocked on the door. to the office over there at Nashville Shores, which is next door to where we're at right now. And the guy that walked out of that office was the guy that was in that restaurant that night playing with Brandon and my wife. So when I say God put us in that spot,
That's right.
he did it.
That's right. Yes, sir.
He did it.
It was
And I'm
like-
talking, go ahead, babe.
I was gonna say it's like undercover boss kind of thing. He was kind of watching us to see how we interacted with the people and everything, and that sold the deal. Him being there that night.
So was that a 100-year lease?
You know what? We have, we sign a lease every, year with them?
Yeah.
But we shook hands that day.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, Mike Turney, he said, we're gonna rent you this place based on how you treated me
See?
in your place and you didn't know who I was. What the scriptures say, you may be entertaining angels. I'm not saying he an angel, but I'm saying he was sent by God that day to put us in that place.
Does he keep up with you guys?
He does. He's played music in there. He's been back with his saxophone and played music in there. Larry's a cancer survivor, so he's been through some things, but we're talking about a wonderful, honest man. Yeah. So that's how we ended up down there.
Anybody else got a question?
Excuse me. I would like to say, when he shook your hand, that was the binding contract.
That was a contract.
Yeah.
I'll share
Look you
this.
in your eye. That was the binding contract.
That was a binding contract. I did business with Kroger for 35 years on a handshake. I never had a contract with Kroger. I never had a written month to month, year to contract with Kroger. There was the CFO, one of the big guys, name was Mark Thompson, and I was worried because we making so many pies for Kroger, man. You know, and we were at a food show. 150 vendors there. We're the only black vendors in the whole food show, and he was there. We had people lined up around the building to eat a piece of Mama Turney's pie. And he came over to the booth. He said, man, the word is that you worried. And I said, Mr. Thompson, I am. I said, if y'all pull out this thing today, I said, our business is over. He shook my hand again. He said, you'll never have to be worried about Kroger not paying you. And you'll never have to sign a contract. He said, you keep making pies. You know, we ain't look back. We ain't look back. Oh, boy.
You got a question, Eric?
Go ahead. I'll follow you.
I have another question that we're looking for in the future. So you've done the pies, you've done the barbecue. What else do you see in the near future?
Well, we started doing pies again. You know, sold the pie company. You know, Mama Turney's is no longer, we have never publicly said this. Mama Turney's is no longer owned by Mike Turney, right? I had guys stealing from me. I didn't love it no more.
What about ice cream?
Oh my God, girl, you getting all deep in my soul now. My mama made homemade ice cream. I have her recipes.
Okay.
You know, I have talked to somebody about making, my mama's name was Georgia. Making Miss Georgia's peach ice cream. You know, and so 3 weeks ago, we talked to some kids, Mr. Sterling Wright, Cooking the Right Way, about J.C. Napier and some kids out there that he's training to be chefs. So I went to their kitchen location out south, and we sat down with them kids. They came to the restaurant first. We sat down with them kids and explained to them what I'd like to do. Show them how to make pies. Get some funding to pay them to make these pies, right? A lot of these kids don't have nothing, man. And even on a lot of days, they don't even have no much, you know. So we made pies. We went to there and I took supplies and we made some pies. Them pies look like the first pies we ever made. From my mama's recipes. My mama's original recipe. So I had labels made. So I took some Papa Turney's homemade pies to Piggly Wiggly on Dickinson Road today. So we're gonna do some pies.
Yes.
I don't know whether I'm gonna got enough work and health in me to sell the Kroger again, but we're gonna teach these kids how to do that.
That's right.
And maybe if I can't, he can.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah,
Maybe the kids can make the ice cream,
maybe they
you
can.
know?
You know, see, God is faithful and kind,
Sure he is.
and He does miraculous things.
All the time.
What on days of what the world perceives as nothing.
That's right.
You know.
So in this house was built in 1909. First owner of this house owned a creamery, which is an ice cream shop.
We talked about that.
So we got a lot of celebrations coming up, May, June, July, August. So maybe the kids can make some ice cream, and during one of our celebrations, we can share some ice cream.
That probably could happen.
Well, that's
It's
a good
Georgia's
idea.
peach ice cream.
Yeah.
That's
Georgia
good.
peach.
Sounds good.
Sound good, don't it?
It sounds good.
It sounds
It's
good,
gonna
don't
be
it?
good.
Those doors keep opening, though.
My mama make that peach ice cream and homemade from scratch. You be eating ice cream, and every once in a while you find a half peach in there, man. She makes strawberry ice cream, peppermint, the King Leo peppermint sticks.
Yep.
Mama would melt them peppermint sticks down and then add it to that ice cream mix
Yeah.
and make peppermint ice cream. It ain't nothing like that on the market.
My goodness.
That's some good ice cream.
Boy, y'all digging all up in my. I thought you said it wasn't gonna be many deep questions, man.
So I have another question. Yeah, I'm full of questions. So I understand that Miss Zeke is your #1 hiker.
Yeah, she is, girl.
So tell me a couple examples, situations how she's hiked you up.
Oh my God, man. I got a good one right here. It's flooded down there at the marina. Our first year down there. It rained for like 4 days. I thought we was gonna have to build an ark. We standing on the deck. I'm watching catfish swim around in the parking lot. It's water all the way up to the steps. To the third step, we had to close the restaurant. I looked at her and said, baby, I said, I feel like I've let you down. I said, do you think we made a mistake by coming down here? She said, oh, baby, we'll be fine. You know, the water always go down. She said, don't worry about it. We'll be fine. That's just one example. You know, before the music really took off, a lot of nights wouldn't be nobody in there but me, Brandon, and her. And we got a band up there that we paying $500. And their own family not even coming to sing. You know. You might need to cut that out. But we sat in there and we had a good time. You know. My band, when we play, one of the prerequisites of us playing is the she there. They don't want to play unless she there. They don't want to play unless she there. Cause she the one that's laughing and screaming. And every once in a while she'll grab that towel and she that's who that is right there. Yeah.
So I have a question for Ms. Z. What do you like most about Papa Turney's and Miss Big's barbecue restaurant?
What do I like the most? I think the music. I think that is just really added to the restaurant, that music, because I love music. And and being around so much music, I come to appreciate musicians and how hard that is. You know, when you go see Gladys Knight, my favorite entertainer in the whole wide world, I never thought about her bass player, her guitar. Okay, somebody's playing the piano, you know. All these are seasoned professionals. I just have such respect for musicians and what they do. Because I'm sure it's not hard. And when we would go to the ocean, down to the Gulf, and go into places, huge places, and the musicians up there playing their heart out, nobody in there.
But it's their passion.
Yeah, and they're still giving 100% like it's 10,000 people there. You know, that has to come from in here, in my book. That's you gonna keep doing it. And they've been doing it for years. So I've gained a love of musicians. And that's why when I'm there, I'm hollering and screaming for them, yay! Because it's not easy. You need somebody in your corner. And that's I don't sing, I don't dance. Well, I can't dance a little
She
bit.
dances, y'all.
Oh. He won't
Don't get it
dance.
twisted. I don't dance.
But,
Sometimes she make me dance, but I wouldn't really call it dance.
But anyway, I like to support the musicians.
That's beautiful. So one other question. I understand you recently received an award from Jefferson Street Sound Museum, Historic Jefferson Street Star Award. And that award is given to an individual or individuals that have helped to preserve the musical legacies of historic Jefferson Street and musical legacies, period. What did it mean to you and Mike, Papa Turney and Miss C, to receive that award?
I was honored. I knocked off my feet.
It was crazy. I didn't expect it. And it was something that I will never, ever forget.
Right.
You know, because I consider you all and this man legendary. You know, I've been knowing Lorenzo, I don't know how long, 10 years?
You know about that.
First time I met him, I said, man, we're going to do something together one day, man. You know, because I could see his heart. You know, God gave me that gift. I can read hearts, man. You know, and I said, we're going to do something. So for him to do that, for you all to see what people don't see, you know. And then I'm looking out in the audience there, and I see people out there that came because they know of us from that restaurant, whose lives that we've touched through this music, through this food, you know, through creating a place and a space that, what I say all the time, that look like God wants the world to look. Everybody in there fellowshipping, man. Ain't no TVs in there. What Jesus do when he talked to people, he fed them, then he taught them.
That's right.
You know, he fed them, then he taught them. So what that meant to me, that night, in my heart, will never be duplicated. That's what that meant to me. Okay?
Such an honor.
Yeah.
I've got a question. When you speak, God gives us a discernment that we feel good and we feel bad about certain things and people. So when you said that, pretty much when I met him, I felt that.
Yes, sir.
That good spirit. I like to share. I called him at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm calling the business just to find out about the hours of operation. He answers the phone.
Ain't that something?
At
Ain't
2
that
in the
something?
morning.
Lord have mercy.
And I was about to hang up because I thought maybe wrong phone number. And we talked. And when we met, it's been just God. God. And God is in this place.
Absolutely.
And so, just a good friend, and more importantly, a good man.
Yes, sir.
He is.
That's right.
Also, where you all's venue is, in the 70s, it was called Nashville Shores. What was that?
Starwood.
Hermitage.
Hermitage Landing.
Heritage Landing.
Hermitage
Hermitage
Landing.
Landing.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
So I used to go out there in the 70s
Is
to
that right?
concert.
Yeah.
Yeah, Charlie Daniels.
That's
You
right.
had the floating stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's
it was
right.
a musical venue from way back.
It was.
You are just bringing it back.
It was.
It was.
It was.
So, yes.
That's something. I have a ticket stub that a friend of mine gave me where Stevie Ray Vaughan
Yes.
and Joe
Yes.
Cocker opened up for Stevie Ray Vaughan
Yes. Yes.
at Hermitage Landing.
At Hermitage Landing.
That's right.
One for the sun.
One for the sun.
Wow.
Boy, that's a good one right there.
One for the sun. Yeah. The 70s.
Yeah, back in the
The
60s.
70s.
That's right.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
right.
It's amazing how things come around.
Yes, sir.
It's amazing.
Amazing.
It's amazing.
Jefferson Street here is gonna come around.
It's coming.
It's-
Don't
It
it
is.
wait.
can't be stopped.
It is.
You got
We need a
men
juke
like
joint on
Mr.
Jefferson
Washington.
Street, Lorenzo.
Yeah, yeah.
That's right. It only takes one.
That's
We
right.
need a juke joint on Jefferson Street, y'all.
Now,
That's right.
Back in the day, we had
That's right.
one down here at Little Caesar, Sir Pizza's.
Yeah.
There was a juke joint there in the back of the pizza house.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the last juke joint on Jefferson Street.
Is that right? Wow.
And when was this?
This was in the 80s.
Oh, okay.
What time you got, Karen?
I see.
Yeah, it was in the 80s.
Okay.
Yeah. We need a juke joint on Jefferson Street, you know.
Yeah, we do.
You know, and it will nurture souls, black, white, and otherwise. It will. You know, it will save lives. Because some of these children is out here doing these things they shouldn't be doing. If it was structured right, they come to that place, a safe place for them to learn something different and see something different. Yeah.
Let me ask you, since you said that safe place, a juke joint on Jefferson Street, do you envision where the youth could come and maybe some of the established musicians could teach them different instruments? If it was a wish list that you had, what would it look like to you?
As far as a building or a place,
Well, as far as reaching out to the youth, this juke joint would serve as a juke joint, right? But also, how would it attract the youth and bring the youth in? And
we're,
serve the youth?
yeah, we're getting ready to do a youth jam at our restaurant. And we're gonna have it on some Sundays. And we're going to let Brandon's band be the house band for this youth jam. And it's gonna be an invitational jam. But anybody to show up can play. But what we want is to target these kids from whatever age to 20, 25 years old or whatever. So, and to give them the experience that they've seen us do. We're hosting the jam today at the restaurant, right? But these are seasoned musicians. But I would like to get 1 or 2 or 3 seasoned musicians each time they have a jam to hold a slight tutorial before the jam starts, to talk to these children and see where their hearts are and which direction they want to go in with their music. The best of all worlds was to do that and maybe have some type of scholarship fund set up to where these children could further a career or further an instrument. I gave a young man a guitar earlier this year that was in a foster home and gave his guitar away when he left the foster home because the young man that he was one of the other kids there played it more than he did. So he left the home and gave him his guitar. I give him one of mine. I ain't talked to him. I don't know whether he playing it or what he did. But there's a need for that, man.
Right.
And there's enough money around here. There's enough money around here to do some things like that. If it just would get started, somebody do it. So we're going to start that jam. We even had a date. Miss Geraldine Pointer was whose idea that was, and we're going to run with it. Yeah, we're going to run with it, and we're probably going to do it at our place. You know. All right.
Any more questions?
I think we're good. I just want to say thank you all.
Thank you. It was fun.
We're pleased to be able to do this.
God
It's my
bless you.
pleasure.
God bless
But
you.
we have a little something.
So we want to present you with this certificate. And it says, the founder of Jefferson Street Sound Museum recognizes your participation in the Legacy Series, Pop Attorney, and Miss Zeke's Juke Joint. This certificate of appreciation is presented to Mike and Irene Turney, April 12th, 2025, by the founder, Mr. Lorenzo Washington.
Wow. Thank you. Okay, thank you. God bless y'all.
Thank y'all.
Yes.
Ooh, Lord have mercy. God bless you, man. Oh, boy, it's old bones. God bless you. God bless you. Thank y'all.
Yes.
All righty. So we
Camera
done?
Yeah.
Thank y'all.
That's it.
God